Joe Madison drops by to point out that Juneteenth, making Juneteenth a national holiday without passing a national anti-lynching law, you know, the one that is being held up by Rand Paul right now in the Senate, is kind of an empty effort. Check this out. Leave your comments, ding the bell, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. But I want to start right off with Juneteenth and the president in Tulsa. Joe Madison is with us. He's the host of the Joe Madison Show, weekdays 6 to 10 a.m. on SiriusXM channel 126. He is a civil and human rights activist. JoeMadison.com, his website. You can tweet him at Madison SiriusXM. Hey, Joe, welcome back.
Hey, happy June 16th, and to everyone out there who doesn't know better, Donald Trump didn't make it famous. I did say I was absolutely so insulted by that. It reminds me of something I've always said. You don't get famous until white people discover you. I mean, that's basically what he was saying. This is I've been doing.
And for people who don't know what you're talking about, Trump yesterday did an interview with the Wall Street Journal and another one with Sean Hannity, and I think it was in the Wall Street Journal interview. He was asked about Juneteenth, and he said a black Secret Service agent had told him about it, but he's the one who made it famous. Forgive the interruption. That's what's so crazy. Again, cultural conditioning. I always talk about undervalue, underestimate, and marginalize. First of all, I've been doing interviews about Juneteenth for over 30 years of my career as a broadcaster and learned about it even before then. But my third ear says, we're not famous unless somebody, in essence, discovers you, or the majority discovers you. That's, in essence, what he was saying. And but he claims everything, and it wasn't just that he didn't know about it. Remember, he had to ask the Secret Service agent about it because no one around him knew anything about it. Doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me. But but happy Juneteenth anyway. There you go. Thank you. So the president is showing up in Tulsa. There's an extraordinary piece in today's New York Times, The Burning of Black Wall Street, revisited by Brent Staples, where he talks about this old guy had lost his legs, who was in Black Wall Street, in Greenwood, who moved around the city on a board with wheels on it. He was selling pencils on the street. And some of the white residents lashed him to the back of a car and drove around and just ripped his body to shreds, just as one of the many examples of just insane brutality. I mean, they didn't just go in and burn down Black Wall Street. This was sadistic murder.
Tom. Hey, by the way, didn't we experience something like that in Texas? When three young guys, Jamesburg, grabbed a man and dragged his body with a chain to pieces. Didn't we learn that? But today we had John W. Franklin on, and he gave us an amazing history of just how Greenwood, Tulsa got started. Most people don't. A lot of African Americans ended up there after the Trail of Tears, some with the Trail of Tears. And then what happened, they ended up on land that most of the whites in Oklahoma deemed worthless. It was hard to raise crops, and guess what happened? They discovered there was oil under that land. And that's how many of the African Americans became wealthy. And what happened was they had money, so they started building their own community, their banks, their restaurants, their hotels, because they were segregated. They weren't allowed to stay or live or consume any of these. And that's how Black Wall Street actually got started. And then, of course, what ended was the tragedy that we're now all learning about thanks to
social media, we can learn about it a lot quicker. But also take this into consideration. Not one African American was compensated for any loss. Matter of fact, not one company, and these weren't stupid people, these are intelligent people who had gotten where they were because of the wealth from petroleum. Their insurance companies, and they were insured, their insurance companies would not settle any claim. And to this very day, none of the survivors or descendants of the survivors have gotten one bit of compensation. The best that could happen would be a plaque or two that they might see. The other thing that was fascinating from what Dr. Franklin told us, who, by the way, there is an exhibit once the African American Museum, the Smithsonian, opens up again, I think on the third floor there. I hope people will take the opportunity to go and see that. These folk were not allowed to rebuild the city unless they used non-combustible material. So they actually had to go out there and damn near make bricks by hand in order to rebuild that community. So this story goes a lot deeper, and I would end by telling you that there's also some concern that there may be mass graves that have not been uncovered. This thing of 300 people were killed. Well, I know for a fact that the Red Cross came in to help, and they documented that there were over 600 people. There is now the possibility that there may be mass graves that have yet to be uncovered. So this is just a continuation of what was in the New York Times, and once again, this argument, I don't know where it'll go. Senator Cohen is now talking about, we should make it a national holiday. Well, there was a medical MD, Dr. Myers, who would come on my show for years, and he wanted to make it a national. I'm sorry, that was Juneteenth. I'm sorry, that was he wanted to make Juneteenth a national holiday. But the Tulsa thing is a tragic beyond what happened to individuals. But the sad thing is, Tulsa, we've seen it. We've seen it over and over again. This goes to, and I hope I can say this, lynching. Tulsa was a lynching. Now understand, we have an anti-lynching bill right now stalled in the United States Senate. It's called the Emmett Till bill. We have an anti-lynching bill. And one senator from Kentucky, Rand Paul, is stopping it. I am begging and asking your listeners to do it, my listeners and others, and all of us who are, Stephanie, all of us, pass that anti-lynching bill. Damn it, pass that anti-lynching bill. Just don't make the Juneteenth a holiday. Don't just go to Tulsa and have a speech. Do something meaningful.